Hello and welcome to another live stream on the Angry Astronaut. Very glad to be seeing all of you. I am in a room that seems to be stuck in the 90s. If it's a little bit blurry, I apologize. The internet connection here is not ideal, but nevertheless, very happy to see all of you, and thank you very much for tuning in. Happy 4th of July to all of my United States viewers, especially to any of you who have happened to tune in on this particular very big day for families across the U.S. I happen to be here at my father's house. My plans have changed pretty dramatically, simply because Sir Richard Branson has made a decision to take to flight and try to get to suborbital flight before Jeff Bezos. And so my plan anyway is to stay here in Colorado Springs until his flight, and I will be driving down to New Mexico to catch that. So I will be one of the hopefully very, very few YouTube channels that actually catch that live and on the, you know, and actually in person. Perhaps I can even get some shots of Sir Richard as he boards. He likes to make a big thing out of all of this. So anyway, I'm very glad to have all of you folks on board. So let's get going on the topic at hand. Colonizing Mars. I mean, is that going to really happen this century? And is it going to happen at all? I mean, if you had asked me this question 20 years ago, I would have said, yeah, maybe, in a century or two, something like that. By the way, it is extremely hot down here in this basement. Colorado houses were not designed with central air because 30, 40 years ago, summers did not get that hot here. They just didn't. And so as a result, very few homes are actually designed with central air. So it is I've gone from one warm place to another warm place, we'll put it that way, even though strangely enough, I'm from South Carolina. So, I mean, everything is so dependent on SpaceX. I mean, really, let's think about it for a moment. Is there anybody else who at least has the capability that's seriously looking at Mars colonization? Is that something that they are, going for at the moment? And thank you, Porter. I appreciate you saying that. So, is there anybody else? I mean, I certainly can't think of anybody. NASA does seem to at least be looking at it as a possibility. They, have put out contests designing habitats, for example, that can be used on the Martian surface that are radiation resistant, that sort of thing. Long-term, habitation. Maybe, that some of them have that desire. But guess what? There is one other outfit or organization that has stated that they intend to establish a permanent presence on Mars, and that is the People's Republic of China. They've made that very clear as of right now. So, and also, as I've just been reminded, Dubai also intends to have a permanent human presence on Mars. They're going to be building sort of a preliminary version of that in Dubai, giving an idea in the middle of the desert, which of course would be a perfect place to do that, giving folks an idea of where they might intend to go. This is a really good idea on their part, by the way, because they are looking ahead. Obviously, petroleum is not the future forever, regardless of whether or not you think petroleum is a good thing. Petroleum is not going to last forever, and it is slowly being phased out in lots of different ways. There's always going to be space for petroleum, products and that sort of thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be, that it's going to be a big commodity as time goes on. I think they have realized this, the United Arab Emirates, and they're looking to expand outward. They do have, the capital to do this sort of thing, and so they're looking to go someplace where they can make some money. And as I have said a number of times in the past, it would be far easier to exploit the asteroid belt from Mars than it would be to exploit the moon from Earth. It is a long-term objective, but nevertheless, if you're looking at asteroid mining as being a big money industry, which in the long run it certainly can be, colonizing Mars is one of the logical first steps, simply because it doesn't require nearly the thrust in order to get off of the planet. It's all a matter of gravity. When you have 1/3 the gravitational pull, it takes a hell of a lot less effort in order to get off the planet. So that does make a big difference in the long run. Why do I think so many famous scientists say that we should not go to Mars? I think it's because they don't have vision. I don't know if you guys have seen my latest video that I put out, where I had a compilation of people that I've slammed on, including, a "screw you, Bill Nye" comment that I made and that sort of thing. I think that they are looking at how difficult life would be on Mars, and it would be difficult in many respects. And so you don't see people going to Antarctica to raise families and that sort of thing. So they're not going to go to Mars to do the same thing. There's one important difference between raising a family, and by the way, children have been born in Antarctica, but there's a big difference between the adventure of going to another world as opposed to going to another continent. Regardless of how harsh it is, regardless of how formidable it is, Mars has wonders on it that simply do not exist on our planet here. So many things to be explored, so many things to be exploited. Antarctica, not an easy thing at all to exploit, the resources there, especially when similar resources exist elsewhere. Exploiting the asteroid belt and the rare metals that exist there, that is a huge thing. There's a lot of money involved in that, and that is more easily done from Mars than it is from here. Indeed, it is more easily done from Mars than it would be for us to exploit a near-Earth asteroid from Earth. It's all about the gravity and the delta V and what's required. So I think that Elon definitely has a vision that goes beyond the whole concept of a multi-planetary species. There's money to be made in it as well, and I think that that people are going to take after it. Next logical step for colonization: look at Ceres. Yes, Ceres would make a great deal of sense. It's a good stopover point. There's a great deal of water within Ceres, as far as we know. There may, in fact, be more water in the interior of Ceres than there is on all of the oceans on the surface of the planet. So, in any event, there is, of course, another big thing about going to Mars. You are going to stay, and the risk involved is tremendous. You will not get help from Earth. You just won't. And that could be another reason why people, formidable, well-known and popular scientists are saying that we can't do it. But there is a very good book that was written way back in the 90s called Out of the Cradle. Mankind cannot stay in the cradle forever. The cradle, of course, being Earth. And I cannot agree more. Our civilization is chewing up resources like mad. We are going to have no choice but to expand out throughout the solar system as our civilization continues to consume resources and raw materials. Recycling is only going to go so far. Just grabbing a few quick questions. 1 second. I am also going over to my Patreon supporters to see if we have. The question depends on whether the first landing supplies, equipment, then colonists work up. We got another comment coming in over there while it's coming in. You think we're going to have problems sending things to Mars? Yeah, well, there certainly. When do we even think we could get people to Mars? I think it's possible by 2030 to 2035. Elon certainly wants that to happen a lot more swiftly, and he's moving in that direction very, very fast, to a point to where I think he's taking massive risks. But nevertheless, he definitely is. And speaking of taking massive risks, just running this channel and making a living out of doing this has been a massive risk on my part. It is a risk that has had some massive payoffs. I've made a lot of great friends. I've had a lot of fantastic experiences. I am very, very appreciative of it, and thank you very much. This trip, however, has been quite devastating, and I know that I have asked for this. Once again, not your responsibility to take care of my problems, but any sort of support would be deeply, deeply appreciated right now if there's ever a time. So thanks very much for that. There are a number of things that have come up, and I'm not going to get into it. That's not what I was here to talk about, but I was going to make a mention of it. Any support at all would be deeply appreciated right now. I'm done with that. Yeah, Elon says he's not a big fan of asteroid mining. Then again, Elon has said a lot of stuff. Elon has made a lot of comments about a lot of things over time, and he's done a lot of about faces on things. My next video that I'm going to release is going to give you some examples of some things that he has said in the past about how the Starship development is going to be going and what he intends to do and how these things have changed as time goes on. So, it's a big deal. And so I think that once, keep in mind the exploration of 16 Psyche, for example, which has enormous metallic resources as far as we know, including lots of rare metals that are absolutely critical to our civilization. And Falcon Heavy is going to be carrying that probe going there. I think personally that Elon is going to be extremely interested in the results of what that probe sends back. So I think that that's going to make a big difference. So we'll see how that goes. We have a couple of questions. There will need to be an economic advantage to Earth itself for space exploration to gain interest. How productive is the exploration of space? Oh, Kenneth, I can't tell you. I'm sorry to jump in like this, but man, you've really made my day. You really have. I'm not going to go again. I'm not going to go why. I'm just in a tighter spot than I've been in about a year. So in any event, what you just did means a lot to me. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. Okay, moving on. There will need to be an economic advantage to Earth itself for space exploration to gain interest. How productive is it? That is a good question. That's a very good question. What sort of advantage is there going to be? And I think that the exploration of 16 Psyche may be a very big game changer for all of that. Once information comes back as to how many vital rare minerals that are tough to get at here on Earth are present on 16 Psyche, that may increase interest in asteroid mining. So we'll see how that ends up going. We'll see what ends up happening. Let's see, and then Supax just made a mention. I think we're having some serious. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm not going to say what you just said. I apologize. I think that was private. The state of mind of people who are going to Mars. The state of mind of people who are going to Mars are definitely going to be adventurers. There's no question about that. One of my favorite things about, a National Geographic dramamentary that just came out as far as, Mars colonization was concerned is when the commander said, if there's anything else in your life that means more to you than Mars, then walk out of here and don't feel bad about it. Go on and do those things because Mars has to matter more to you than anything because the commitment of going there after a certain number of years in 1/3 gravity, it will be physically impossible, barring some sort of scientific breakthrough, to return. So have to be adventurers, people who are going with utterly no intention of coming back. And you know what? Those people exist. They exist. Those explorers have gone out in the past. We have historical precedents for these sorts of people. Hell, you look at extreme snowboarders, extreme whatever, risking their life just for the sheer thrill of it, let alone exploration. And Chris Moole, thank you so much for the 15 quid. Wow, once again, thank you. The day of all days, that's making a big difference to me. Seriously, it means a lot. Thank you so much. And 5 quid more from Mike Woodmansey. Boy, my lot of people jumping on board. My British supporters, as always, thank you so much, Melvin. Wow, you guys, thank you. Geez, this is meaning so much to me. So much, seriously. You have no idea. Let's put it this way, because of something YouTube did in the way that they reconfigured how they do advertising and advert dollars and that sort of thing, I got 70% of my money gutted for my last 3 videos. I lost about 70% of the cash, which is a bad way to start the month. And last month wasn't that great anyway. So that's what I had to say there. So I'm done with this. Oh, thanks. Wow, people coming through. Sovereign Soul, thank you so much. Wow, you guys are amazing. You're amazing. Thank you so much. I don't know what else to say besides that. I'm going to keep putting out the content, by the way. If there's nothing else I can do for you but that, the content is going to keep coming, and I have another video coming, if not today, certainly tomorrow, working on it right now. And it's about Starship, by the way. I haven't done a lot about Starship recently, so I've got something about Starship. Will lava tubes on Mars be able to hold the pressure if we tried to utilize them in some way? Comes a question from Sherwood Butler. Thank you so much, one of my Patreon supporters. Good question. Once again, we don't know anything about these lava tubes. We have never explored them. Now, there is a company called SpaceBit. I'm on very good terms with the CEO there now. A fellow named Pablo, who's one of the nicest guys I have ever met. UK-based company sending the first UK mission to the moon, and they're going to be exploring, guess what, lava tubes in order to determine, their viability and suitability for human colonization, or at least establishing bases inside them, and also to see what's inside these lava tubes since they've never been explored before. That and these little spider rovers, I have an interview with them. You just look it up, SpaceBit, spider rover, whatever. It was a very interesting conversation. And I think that a rover very similar to that on Mars could do exactly the same things. And by the way, these spider rovers have been tested inside lava tubes on Earth, where the gravity is much more challenging. And even if you flip them over, they flip themselves back over. So they are pretty solid. Pretty solid again. Martian gravity is actually closer to about 0.34. It's about 1/3. Oh, Lance, thank you so much for the 10 quid. Boy, my British supporters coming through, my American supporters coming through. You guys are all just jumping on board. Thank you so much to everybody, my supporters around the world. I would not be here without you, plain and simple. I would not survive without your support. That's just how that works. So thanks again. Does the moon have lava tubes? Yes, indeed, the moon has lava tubes. The moon was once a very volcanically active place. a great deal of activity in its, especially in some of the younger areas. There's a great deal of resurfacing that took place and on the moon. And this is one area that the Peregrine lander is going to be exploring, and the Spider rovers are going to be coming out to have a look inside the lava tubes. So that's going to make a big difference indeed. And that's not the only one, by the way. There's a Japanese rover that can, with a couple of wheels on it, that can flip, that can do all kinds of crazy maneuvers. They have it driving down narrow drainage channels and such. It's an amazing rover, and that has accomplished some awesome stuff as well. Michael, thank you so much. And yes, I am glad that people have differing opinions. That is something that I encourage on this channel. If we don't have discourse with differing opinions, then we don't have progress. Everybody believing the same thing, or at least pretending to believe the same thing, doesn't produce any kind of progress. So 0.38G, thank you, Lance. I do appreciate that. How do I think the Super Heavy will receive fins as all the official renders the full stack? I've got a video coming out about Super Heavy amongst other things today, and frankly, it has me a little worried. Not just in terms of whether it's safe, that sort of stuff, but in terms of how SpaceX's plans have changed with Super Heavy. The times that I've talked about we should, test Super Heavy the same way that we've been testing Starship, with a few engines at a time, doing a few hops, that sort of thing, and then trying to land it, etc., before we go for the full 28 or 29 engine. Well, that's what Elon was saying. And I've got him on tape saying it in my latest video. That's exactly what he was saying. And now all of a sudden, we're going straight to 28 engines or 29 engines or whatever it's going to be. Crazy stuff. Oh, thank you, Gregor. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you saying that. What you just said. Wow. And Peter, thank you so much. Independence Day, the USA will not be outdonated by the British. Yes, I suppose the 4th of July is a big day for both the US and Britain for different reasons. Although I am very glad that our two countries are now very close allies and working together. Actually, we defeated the greatest threat that mankind has ever faced, and that, of course, is Hitler and the Nazis. I'm not going to say Germany, because I think many Germans were either misled or didn't believe in what they were doing, but I will say the Nazis. And our two nations worked together, along with the Soviets, of course, but our alliance is what made that happen. So in any event, enough of that. Okay, let's see. Good topic. I'll be keeping a reef aquarium, except life will depend on it. That is one thing. One thing to keep in mind, one thing I've talked about many times, is aquaponics on Mars. A big thing, a very big thing indeed, as to how aquaponics is going to contribute to the success of colonization on Mars. I've seen aquaponics in action. I actually contributed to an organization that grew aquaponic food for food banks and that sort of thing. And what they produced was unbelievable. And aquaponics will work on Mars, guys. It will. There have been those who have criticized my viewpoints on this and actually flat out attacked me online on this particular issue. The Japanese successfully raised fish on the ISS several generations, actually. There's no reason why we can't take fish to Mars and therefore establish aquaponics. And as a matter of fact, NASA already committed this sort of thing. And by the way, yes, there is another super chat that just came through. 10 quid. Thank you so much. Boy, I'll tell you, I've got the worst eyesight in the world. I think it's Modasir Ali. I do apologize, but I just want to make sure that I may have mispronounced that. But thank you so much for the £10. Wow. It looks like we do have a competition going between the U.S. and Britain in terms of donations. Thank you so much for that. God, you guys are making a difference to me today. Wow, I'll tell you. Okay, let's keep it going. Oh, there's somebody who said something about aquaponics, but let's keep it going. It's far from efficient. Cellular food production is the future. Good point. Cellular food production is something that's been talked about, to a great extent, and it may indeed work. I need to do a video about that sometime. I guess I have a bias towards aquaponics because I've seen it work. I've seen it work for the poor here. It does produce a tremendous amount of food per acre, and it also allows you to bring fish to Mars. Therefore, you don't have to stick with a vegetarian or vegan diet for those who don't like that sort of thing. But at the same time, cellular types of meats, that sort of thing can definitely work out as well. But there is NASA had, and I've made some episodes about this. NASA did commission an aquaponics system. They had one that was designed recently. And oh, by the way, ASN, my collaborator in Yorkshire, he just said I'm vegan for most. He is an unapologetic vegan. I totally respect that. Some of my best friends are vegans, and hey, whatever works. And Tobias, thank you so much for the euro. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Any support right now is massive. Let me tell you, it is simply massive. Angry is a fan of Great Britain and a frequent visitor and refers to pounds as quid. Much love from Yorkshire, England. Well, much love back to you. I had family in Yorkshire actually for 2 years who worked for a banking organization. Spent a lot of time visiting them. I've been to Yorkshire many times. It's one of my favorite parts of the world, although I adore really the whole of the UK. I've been everywhere from Land's End to Inverness to Skye to Belfast to Dublin. Well, Dublin's not part of the UK though, that's Ireland obviously. But nevertheless, I've been all over that area and I'm in love with it. It is a fabulous area and certainly where I'm from. So anyway, we'll thanks. Let's keep this going. Got a good conversation going. Let's see what what some other supporters might have said here. Ad Astra had a nightmarish vision of Mars. The colony is basically just an ill-lit and dank basement. Man, maybe it will be. Maybe that is what has to happen there. I hope not. There are alternatives. There are definitely alternatives to this. But nevertheless, I mean, you've seen them. You've seen them on my videos, all of the different designs for habitation areas that NASA has come up with that are not underground basements. They're very pleasant in many ways. I think that that's an important thing. Natural lighting, just a pleasant environment to live in because you're spending so much of your time inside. Why not have a pleasant environment to do so? And I think that it can be done. Boy, a couple more just pounding in 20 euros. Thank you so much. Oh, from Amsterdam. And by the way, congratulations, guys, on getting your first military satellite into orbit. Well done indeed with Virgin Orbit, and the fact that you guys were able to accomplish that, I am beyond thrilled. Boy, the super chats have been coming. We're almost up to $200 in super chats. This has surpassed my expectations. You guys are doing, I'll tell you, a lot. You're digging me out of the hole. Let's put it that way. You're digging me out of the hole single-handed, and I don't know what else to say except thank you. And the content will keep coming. Result. This is going to keep plowing in. Melvin Brown, $25 from the U.S. Thank you so much for taking time out from your day, from your 4th of July. Okay, let's keep it going. So yeah, as I said, yes, we can, by the way, says Richard, and we will. Yes, we will. by all means, I do believe that we can certainly do it. Not only that, as Elon has said many times, we have to do it in order to preserve the species, not just in terms of if something horrible happens here on Earth, God forbid, but also just the way our civilization consumes resources. And not only that, exterminates species on the planet. This has been one of the greatest mass extinctions in the history of the world. Not because we've been intentionally going out and killing other species, although we've done that a few times, but for the most part, it's just because our civilization is so destructive to, to the rest of the world. Thank you so much. Boy, man, I have a hard time seeing this sometimes. I believe it's Stray. I apologize. The five pounds that just came from that, and Boyd with a $5 coming back. Do I understand that I have an interview with Elon scheduled? No, I don't. What I did is I took a quote from an interview that Elon gave to the Mars Society some time ago when he was describing what the plan for Starship was, what the plan for Super Heavy was, and it is radically different than what's going on right now. He was talking about a similar program to what we've been seeing with, SN8 through SN15. A few engines, a few hops, that sort of thing, scaling it up. He even talked about throwing 28 engines on the Super Heavy right off the bat. He kind of laughed, as if it was sort of a crazy idea. And yet, this is what we're seeing now. And it makes me wonder, what's up with the change? Why do we have this change in policy right now from what Elon was telling us just a few months ago? What's going on? And so this is going to be a pretty big video. It may attract a fair amount of attention. But anyway, wow. Still coming in. PulseJet, thank you so much. I'm gonna miss Man on Mars. 50 years of smoking. Oh, boy, I'm sorry to hear that, but you never know. You never know what's going to happen. New technology, new medical, breakthroughs. You never know. But I do agree with that. If you smoke, quit. Absolutely. If you smoke, quit. All right. And Keith, thank you so much for your support as well. Yeah, thank you. Boy, it's been coming through big time. I honestly, I'm very moved. God, I am so moved by you guys. Seriously, I've got the best supporters, the best subscribers, the best viewers on YouTube by far. There's nothing else to say but that. All right, let's see here. His movie Beyond the Stars. Sheen is angry as heck. Well, Sheen has a Oh, well, thank you, Keith. Vanilla milkshake, absolutely. Well, I'm lactose intolerant, but there's some alternatives that I'll definitely take advantage of. Elon will eventually be the king of Mars. Yeah, that is entirely possible if the way that he has things viewed, if the Martian government in the future, if his views on that do indeed take place, then yeah, he wants direct democracy. So he won't really be a king or an elected leader if he gets what he wants. Instead, what he wants is direct democracy, people voting straight in on different issues, and then a 2/3 majority required in order to oh man, just one moment. I've got a question that just got asked, and I'll answer in just 1 second. Boy, and I just lost my train of thought. Never mind. What happened to your old Carl Sagan style videos? I used to do more of them. Oh, you know something? I suppose I really ought to get more of that. Go back and check out Cosmos a bit more. And because yeah, I love the guy. He was talented beyond all belief. Definitely beyond all belief. Wow, Christopher Cox. Wow, like Elon, go big or go home. You went big, my friend. Dear Lord, thank you so much for that. I'm moved, guys. Seriously moved. Really appreciate it. This made my day. Okay, and like I say, the best I can do for you guys back is to keep plowing out that content, and it's coming. I've been working all morning on my latest video. This is going to be a big one, guys. This is going to be a big one. And even though I've been doing a lot of these comedy skits at the beginning of a lot of my videos, people have been enjoying those. This one is dead serious. This one is a dead serious video about a very serious topic in regards to Starship. So stay tuned, guys. Something big coming, and we'll see what people think about it. As you know, I say what I think, and I say what I happen to be thinking at the time. So we'll see what ends up happening. Will the exclusion zone be extended, says Alan? It cannot be. The exclusion zone, if you extended it any further, it would go past South Padre Island, and they would need to evacuate all of South Padre in order to do an orbital shot. That is not logistically possible. It just isn't. All of those huge hotels, the whole tourism industry there, the amount of money that it would cost logistically to evacuate those areas, the amount of money they'd have to pay the hotel owners, all of that, unless he buys all of that property. And my God, that's going to cost serious money. That is going to cost massive money. I'll tell you, I don't see how he can extend the exclusion zone. So that is, a very serious concern. And, that's why I think at the beginning he was talking about super heavy 2 engines, 4 engines, 6, do some hops, that sort of thing. He really was talking about doing things according to that kind of plan. And now the plan has changed radically. Now we're talking about, let's throw 28, 20, actually it's 29 engines and hit the switch. And, why? Why do we have to go so fast on this? What's going on behind the scenes that requires this kind of urgency? I'm excited about going to orbit this fast, but at the same time, even Elon seemed a little intimidated at the idea of going with a 28 engine launch right off the bat, which is pretty much what it's going to take to get Starship, to get something that heavy, not just 100 tons worth of Starship, but all the fuel on top of that, all the way up to the appropriate altitude where there's, main engine cutoff, and then the Starship's engines kick in. It's going to need all of those engines in order to be able to accomplish that. So, I can see why he was a bit intimidated by it first, why he wanted to scale it up. And guess what? That's not what's happening now. My question is, why? Why has it changed? So, and it's a big mystery, and I have to admit, I have some concerns about it. I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, Mexico is not far away either. That it could create an international incident. Theoretically, those are all serious issues as well. Boy, thank you, Dean, for the 10 quid. Really do appreciate that. And I am looking forward to watching launches happen in the UK as well, and not just in Scotland as is currently being planned. Spaceport Cornwall, for any of you who haven't watched my interview with Spaceport Cornwall, please do so. That was an amazing interview, and what is currently being planned there is big. It's not just Virgin Orbit, it's Sierra Nevada as well. A multi-billion-dollar major U.S. space corporation has signed an agreement, as most of you know at this point, with Spaceport Cornwall to use it as a major landing field. Why would they do this? Why not just get another landing field in the U.S.? I think it's because they're looking for big European customers as well as American customers. You think surface construction can ever be meteor proof on Mars, or is serious digging for safe habitats? And that's from I think it's WASP. I apologize, and thank you so much for the €5. By the way, that's always going to be a danger, actually. However, it has been estimated that if you had a surface habitat that was approximately 1 kilometer in diameter, odds are you wouldn't take a meteor strike for a couple of centuries. So I think in that amount of time, we're going to come up with a lot of solutions to make this safe. There are some possibilities with things like self-sealing fuel tanks, especially if it's a small meteoroid coming in, maybe 10 meters in diameter, 5 meters, even that would be devastating though. But a smaller meteoroid coming through, it would be bad news, but you might be able to seal up the habitat. Another solution is to have your habitat spread over a large area, maybe one centralized power source that's subsurface. Have a nuclear power source perhaps, or some other power source that that is providing energy to all of these habitats that are spread out over a large area. So if one habitat gets taken out by a meteoroid, then you don't lose the entire colony. Have obviously a lot of redundancy built into the colony. Obviously there are going to be serious challenges that are going to face us on Mars and colonizing Mars. Very serious challenges, but at the same time, these are challenges that can be overcome. Remember, and a lot of people don't like comparing, colonizing Mars to colonizing, North America. But at that time, the colonists didn't, have any resistance to a lot of nasty diseases. They didn't have anything that they could do about terrible crops, about awful weather that they weren't expecting. Hostile tribes who had a good reason to be hostile, by the way. There were a lot of threats that faced these people, and a lot of them died. A lot of them died. And, this is something we need to be prepared for. Those who go to Mars, there are going to be casualties. There are going to be death. Either we deal with it or we don't. Looks like we got, I'm just checking on some of the other remarks that are being made. Yeah, Boca Chica, 2.5 degrees closer to the equator. Yeah, that is a good location. I'm thinking offshore, a little bit closer to the equator would make a bigger difference. We have 425 people watching, by the way. Wow, on the 4th of July, that's a big difference. Obviously, I have many viewers who are not in the U.S., but for those of you who are, thank you for taking time out on your day, on your holiday to watch me. I mean, I am deeply humbled, and for my viewers across the world, and all the generosity I've seen today, all the generosity in a time of extreme need. Boy, you guys have come through. Thank you so very much. Okay, so let's see. Eon says many people would die in the first period of colonization. I doubt it. If we do it right, maybe not. If we're careful, if we use the right kind of technology, if we put the right type of logistical systems in place, everything we need to survive on Mars is there. Everything that's required for survival on Mars exists. Yeah, there's no air, but the ability to make air is there. Yeah, there's no food, but the ability to grow food is there. And it's simply because there's so much water. That is one of the critical things. As long as you have a lot of water on the surface of the planet, everything else is just details. Water is the critical thing to the survival of life on Earth. In the few deserts where it never rains on this planet, there's no life of any kind, not even bacterial. But in the most inhospitable places on this planet, places right by volcanic vents with tremendously high temperatures, with no sunlight, no nothing, and yet there is life that thrives. And if they can survive, maybe we can find a way to survive too. I think that surviving, and there, by the way, there's lots of people talking about, building cities beneath the ocean, sub-oceanic colonies. Those are going to be massively challenging as well. So if we can do that, we can do Mars, because a sub-oceanic colony not guarantee our survival, guys, not even close. If there is a major nuclear exchange, you can bet that they'll reserve a couple of missiles or a couple of nuclear torpedoes for a sub-oceanic city to get rid of it. So going to another planet is the only solution. It is the only solution for us to survive. So, by the way, thanks. Yeah, it's necessary. Actually, I can't see the chats with sunglasses. So anyway, but let's see if we've got some comments, by the way, from our Patreon supporters. Not just yet. Feel free to contribute on live stream Q&A, guys, over there. That's fine by me either way. Eating bugs. Yes, that is something that's been talked about a fair amount. And there are plenty of cultures on this planet that do indeed eat bugs. So, that's, could be where we get our protein. And, it has been proven on the ISS that there are many of different species of bugs that can survive for months in microgravity. So that could be another solution. Could we eat the Martian regolith, says Jerry? No, but guess what? We can breathe the Martian regolith. You think I've gone nuts there? Well, I haven't. The Martian regolith and the perchlorates in it, there is a bacteria right here on Earth that eats perchlorates and produces oxygen as a byproduct. I actually did a video about this. And they did a proof of concept design for an emergency oxygen system where an astronaut who ran out of oxygen would just have to shovel a few kilograms of Martian regolith into a bag and then use the enzymes from that bacteria to produce an hour's worth of emergency oxygen, just like that. It's amazing. So Martian regolith, we can breathe it. Just with the help of microorganisms right here on Earth. And I'm willing to bet, by the way, since we have found more oxygen in the Martian atmosphere than we anticipated, that there are organisms on that planet right now that are doing the same thing. We may not have to take our own organisms to Mars. We may be able to use the life that's right there to help us make use of those perchlorates. That's my guess. But we'll see. And by the way, that I had mentioned that to Dr. Gilbert Levin, who is in charge of the exobiology team for the Viking spacecraft. He agreed with me and said that it is a strong indication that there are perchlorate-eating bacteria on Mars. So everybody talks about the perchlorates like it's a bad thing. It could be a good thing. And also, you can make solid rocket fuel out of it. So all you need to do is think outside the box, damn it. That's it. Stop looking at things as problems that don't have solutions and instead find the solutions because they exist. They definitely exist. We can accomplish this. We just have to set our minds to it, and we need to dismiss any of these notions that it's impossible or impractical or improbable, especially these popular scientists, these pop science guys, Bill Nye and others on the, and I'm more than happy to call him out, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who I really like most of the time, by the way, but his attacks on the whole notion of colonizing Mars, I'm not behind that at all. I think that he is taking a very narrow-minded viewpoint to that. And there are many others who strongly disagree with him. Yeah, I agree with you, David. David Paulson said Viking found life, and yes, indeed, it did. The label release experiment was conclusive in my opinion, and I'll tell you why. The label release experiment is no more than an experiment, or rather a process that we use to determine whether or not there is bacteria in our drinking water, whether or not drinking water is safe to be used. And this has never produced a false positive on Earth. Not once, not ever. And it produced positive results on Mars, both with Viking 1 and Viking 2, multiple times. And there have been many attempts that have been made over the past more than 4 decades that have passed since then to find some sort of natural process or chemical process that would have duplicated this. So many people have tried to debunk this experiment without success, with no success. So far, the label release experiment has held up. There is something there, no question. Maybe just bacterial, but I'll tell you, anywhere on Earth where there's water, there's life. There's plenty of water on Mars. And also the perchlorates, by the way, make it easier for the life to exist there because it lowers the freezing point of the water in question. It's one of the reasons why that we've recently, I believe anyway, have detected all of these subsurface lakes, is because there's the presence of so many elements in the water that reduce its freezing point to where it can be liquid subsurface. So let's see. Lots of comments going on, by the way. It was the 2 inches beneath the top layer of soil. Yeah, it was right there. It was right there. And it wasn't just, if it had been some sort of system, related error of some kind, hot here. If it had been some sort of system related error, then how would they have even had it happen at Viking 1 and Viking 2? In addition to that, there was some theory that, the surface of Mars being bombarded by cosmic rays might have artificially created this process. So they had Viking turn over a rock which had been providing protection to the regolith beneath for many millions of years and experimented with that soil, and they got the same result. However, when they heated the regolith to about 150 degrees Fahrenheit, it killed off a large number of the bacteria. After that, the label release experiment gave a much, much lower rating, which is exactly the same result it provides us on Earth under exactly the same circumstances. If it was a chemical reaction, how would exposing it to a little bit of heat make such a massive difference? There is no logical reason for it, at least not yet. And, they've had over 40 years to come up with one. If you've had over 40 years to debunk a theory and it still holds up, in my opinion, the theory is the truth. And it's only so long before we finally, acknowledge that. And I hope it happens in Dr. Levin's lifetime. Upcoming super heavy launch face legal challenges that might keep it grounded. Yes, indeed. I think it's very possible, given the fact that it's only 2 kilometers away from a wildlife preserve. That is a very serious issue. I really don't know. When the first FAA, application was put in, and when they approved this area for launches, the assumption was going to be 2 launches of the Falcon Heavy per year, and that's it. And keep in mind, guys, the Super Heavy is way more powerful than the Falcon Heavy. It's just a lot more noise, and a lot more potential danger, obviously, with an RUD. So, are there going to be strong enough environmental concerns to where they're going to put the brakes on an orbital launch from Boca Chica? It is entirely possible. Can't say for certain, of course, but it is entirely possible. Do you think Elon will bore a tunnel from his city on Mars to the North Pole? He has the equipment to do it. I think that would be an interesting idea, and certainly the water resources there are extensive. But at the same time, there's water all over the planet. In the Utopia Planitia, at least according to subsurface readings that we've taken from our satellites in orbit, the nearest, the best indications that we have right now is that there is a huge subsurface, either lake or massive amount of water ice down there. So there's water very close, actually, to where Elon is looking to establish his colonies. He has a number of places. You can look it up, and it's in my videos, but there's a number of spots in not just in, it's not mostly in the Utopia Planitia, but close by. And one of the primary reasons for this is the presence of water. Water is just a big deal. It's a big deal in terms of making breathable oxygen. It's a big deal in terms of making fuel. It's just a big deal, period. So government alphabet agencies exist to stop progress. They do indeed. They do indeed, Mike. It is frustrating. It is frustrating. At the same time, if super heavy does indeed represent a threat to the surrounding populace, then that's something that needs to be taken very seriously. And maybe we need to be looking at offshore launches when we come to the first fully stacked Starship, something way offshore, and also with an ocean to keep the noise levels down. That much water will absorb the noise to a tremendous degree. So the offshore oil platform launch system is the best way. The question is, do we want to wait that? That is indeed, a big question. The water could be poisonous for humans. It could, but given desalination plants, everything else that's been done, we can filter just about any kind of poison out of a water source. We can filter out just about any kind of poison. So I'm not terribly concerned about that. We have about 5 minutes left. If any of my Patreon supporters have some last second questions or remarks to be made, by the way, guys, looks like we lost signal there for a moment. Oh gosh, I hope that's not going to remain the case. But nevertheless, there we go. We got us back. Yeah. If you have any last second questions and comments, God, we've had a very active discussion going on, and people watching for a long period of time. And a lot of people watching. Period. Really do appreciate it. But more than anything, guys, the support that you guys have given me in my time of need, let me tell you, has meant a lot to me. A huge amount. It's been colossal. 472 concurrent viewers, 3,420 playbacks. This is very successful, in nearly $300 in super chats. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for your support. Massive. It's made all the difference in the world to my channel today. It really has. I could not be more grateful. Thank you so much for all of that. So we've got dig deep in those pockets. People always ask, and somebody did. Holy crud! Thank you, Boyd, for that last second one. Absolutely right about oxygen availability on Mars. Proof in the perchlorates, iron oxide. All it takes is electricity to get the oxygen released. You are absolutely right. Everything we need to survive on Mars is there. Is it going to be easy? No. But is it possible? Yes. Hell yeah, it's absolutely possible, and we can't be giving up on things. We have people, checking in at the last second. Sorry, guys, we've been talking extensively about going to Mars, all of the challenges involved. By the way, follow me on Twitter. I think that's being put on right now by my supporter in Yorkshire who helps me keep this whole thing going. By the way, big thanks to ASN or Another Space Nut. Please, to remember him as well. It's because they do great work, and let's keep that going. So as a matter of fact, put it on the chat real quick. Put your if you could, ASN, put your website on the chat and a link to it, if you would, please, so that we make sure that people can get referred there to this really great website that you were saying that you are a huge part of. Please put that on the chat so people can see it. Okay, we have 2 more minutes. So any other comments, and I would be delighted to see them as best as I can. I've kind of lost I can't see the chats at the moment, but that's all right. I'm sure that'll be rectified in just a moment. Excellent. Um, where can we find uranium to power our colonies? I have every belief that there is uranium on Mars. There's, the nature of of Mars crust and the similarities that exist between the geology of Mars and our planet strongly indicates to me that there is uranium, but we're not going to know that until we start looking, until we start, finding these things out. All of this is going to be absolutely critical. Time to light some fireworks, definitely, David. Thank you so much. And boy, you guys, I'll tell you, I'll say it one more time. You guys came through for me in a huge way today. I am deeply moved. Thanks so much, and more content coming really soon. I'm going to keep this plowing out. I don't take a day off because I love doing what I do so much, and it would not be happening without you guys. So thank you so much. So we have hit our hour, and I am going to make my closing remarks until we take that first huge step, not just to pay a visit to Mars, not just for a brief exploration, but rather with the intent to go there to stay, because we have to. We have to leave the cradle, become a multiplanetary species, because our civilization is going to gobble up this planet in time, and that is just a dead-end solution. We need a better one, and the red planet is where it's at. So until we're there to stay, I urge all of you to stay angry about space.